It's an omen!
9 billion names of pod.
From Atlanta.
Where Aziraphale burned the city to the ground in 1864 by accident.
It's the 9 Billion Names of Pod with Dan Bowman and Michael Reed. I'm Dan Bowman.
I'm looking over China patterns for some angels.
So let's talk about some stuff.
Yes.
So I take it you finished Good Omens.
I finished Good Omens.
Yeah, some of us may not have. Just one of those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
But you've read it.
I have read it.
Where I have not read it.
I have read it. It's been a long time since I read it, but I've also I have the BBC did a radio play version of it 2-3 years ago. The guy Dirk Maggs, who picked up the mantle and did the Hitchhiker's Guide stuff, did Good Omens as well, and so I know that version the best. And I've seen, I want to say, 2 episodes of the TV series,
right?
And I did read the book, but that was a very long time ago. So
okay, all right. So based on the first 2 episodes,
oh, it's great. It's great. It's exactly what it needs to be. You know, it hasn't really ramped up to where it all goes, but it's fun. It's interesting to see coming from those other perspectives of the book and and I'll probably go back and read it after I see the whole thing again.
So in the book and the BBC teleplay, did Crowley and Aziraphale come off as closeted?
Not to my. I mean, I
wouldn't say closet. I shouldn't say that. I would say it's very tough. Aziraphale is definitely at least bi.
Oh yeah. He's fluid. But,
He's fluid, and Crowley's definitely a top, no matter what. I mean, that's all there is to that. Apparently, there's a phenomenon now where people are crying out for them to get together in Good Omens 2. And to that I say no.
Well,
that would ruin it.
Well, and the problem is there isn't going to be a Good Omens 2.
Right. Well, and the only reason there's the first Good Omens, the Amazon series, 6 episodes, is because Neil Gaiman made a promise to Terry Pratchett to do it.
Yeah.
And
it was one of his dying wishes that it got made.
So he did it, and
because that book's like 20 years old at least. It's something.
30.
Is it?
It was
that much?
1990. So we're coming up on.
And that's when I read it, and somewhere in the 90s I read it.
Exactly. Yeah. But Neil has said, you know what? The idea about just the nuns having a show or a spinoff, wonderful ideas. I'm not doing that.
No, he can't.
He can.
Well, he can, but
he doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to because he wrote it with Terry, and Terry is now gone.
It's a done deal.
Yeah.
We're good. It's happy. He wants to write a novel now. That's what he said. So
that's what he should do.
Right. He said, I'm taking off my showrunner hat, putting on my writer's hat, getting into that headspace, and doing a novel.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see I mean, it's not going to be Good Omens 2, a novel. It'll be something completely different.
And I think Terry would give him the blessing to carry on the story if he
wanted to. But I think, based on what I saw in the series,
not everything needs to be a series.
Yeah,
things can just be it just can be a book.
It's a book.
And
they did it, and it's done.
Yes.
So I'm pretty happy with that. Now we can go back to talking more about Good Omens, but there's another thing coming out that is a sequel.
Okay. Oh,
have you heard about it?
Okay, I've seen a couple things. Yeah.
They've already finished the movie for Dr. Sleep.
Yes.
And Ewan McGregor is playing Danny
Torrance.
Danny Torrance. And they cut in heavy amounts into the trailer of the original Kubrick film.
Right.
Which can't make Stephen King very happy.
It's funny you said that. I read an article today where the director went to King and said, if you're not okay with this, it's dead. We're not going to do the movie because it can't work either way. It can work if you give us the blessing to kind of tie it into the Kubrick film, but use your book as the source material, and King acquiesced.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
Yeah.
And let's face it, from what I understand, the character, I can't remember his name, that was played by Scatman Crothers, he survives.
He does.
And he doesn't in the book, in the original King book, in The Shining. So you can't just have him suddenly show up. I don't know if I haven't read Dr. Sleep.
Oh, you gave it to me.
I haven't read it.
Well, here's
yet.
the thing. He does survive in The Shining,
Right.
in the book,
Yeah.
and he shows up at the beginning of
Dr. Sleep. See, so you
Well,
can't.
what was great about it was I had never read The Shining, and I was reading it for the first time.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, I only read it whenever it was a year or two ago. And,
wow.
I was here. I think we were recording, and I happened to mention, I'm about to finish The Shining. I'd never read it before. And you were like, have you read the sequel? I was like, there's a sequel? And you said, yeah, it's called Dr. Sleep. I said, no. And you said, here, read it, and handed it to me. So I was able to go immediately from The Shining into it. And I'll tell you, the book, Stephen King has, yes, he's a brilliant writer, but he has this unbelievable skill of being able to write like himself and write like other people, because the Dr. Sleep is written exactly the same tone and feel and structure as The Shining, whereas it was very slow at the beginning. It still kept your interest, but it was very slow, and
like
it wasn't
like The Stand that takes about 100 pages for you to go,
Yeah.
oh, I'm interested now.
Right. Same thing. Where at The Shining, I was like, man, nothing has happened for quite a while. I'm still in, but nothing has really happened. Same with Dr. Sleep. It's like little bits and pieces, and like you get what would be a 5-minute flashback that takes 10 chapters, that kind of thing, the setup. And it's good. I enjoyed the book a lot,
Okay.
and there's a lot of stuff about and what's going on ties back into The Shining a lot, and how fucked up he became because of just alcoholism as well, and drug addiction, and being, having the shine.
Well, this is
and
what
all that.
happens to the Train Spotting Ewan McGregor. Right. Red rum. Oh, what's that baby doing on the ceiling?
But
Oh.
yes, I watched the trailer, and yeah, it's very, very, very Kubrick centric.
Well, Kubrick
Universe
biting, because the stuff that wasn't clips from Kubrick, it felt disjointed to me.
Okay.
And I personally think The Shining is a brilliant, brilliant film. It's not so much Stephen King's book.
Right. It's not really an adaptation. It's kind of its own thing.
It's a reimagining notation.
Yes.
That kind of thing. I remember reading the reading The Shining, and they had the hedge, creatures that came alive.
The topiaries, yeah.
And I was like, I can't wait to see the film. And I was begging adults, because I was still 11, 12. I can't remember how old I was. I was very young.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're not going to.
Take you to The Shining.
We're not going to take. I can't remember if I was trying to get them to take me to it or rent it. I can't remember how it.
Might have been rental at that point.
Yeah, I can't remember. When did The Shining come out?
70 something.
No. The Shining was definitely in the early 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, very early 80s.
Okay.
Could be as early as 80. And I eventually saw it and went, I loved it. Where's the damn topiary? And of course, then they did it in the, I think Steven Weber played.
He did. Yes, he did. They did a television movie version of it.
I was like, and then they did it. I was like,
yeah, it didn't. And
CGI hadn't quite come into its own.
No, it was early 2000s, I want to say, when they did that
maybe.
version of it, something like that. And yes, it was just a little clunky.
Clunky.
It wasn't scary.
No, not at all. And quite frankly, when you're technically remaking a classic, that's rough.
Yeah.
But
when they announced that they were making a movie of Dr. Sleep, I was like, well, what do you do? Do you just make the book because King's going to want you to make just the book and ignore the movie and confuse everybody who didn't read the book? Or do you tie it in and piss off Stephen King?
Well, there's one person versus millions of people. He apparently went to King, and King said, I see,
Yeah.
Because even he acknowledges that Kubrick made a good film. It's just not my story.
Yeah, that's not the one he wanted.
I disagree with all his choices for my story.
Yeah.
And since they're making a sequel film that is a sequel to another film, there has to be certain concessions.
Right.
So I was underwhelmed by the trailer. I'm going to see it.
I'm in. Well, yes, I'm definitely going to see it. And having read the book, I was like, oh, that's that, and oh, that's that, and that's that, because there's a whole other plot that has nothing to do with the Overlook and with Danny. It doesn't.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
because
it's that's all there and that's all. It does kind of circle around back to that, but there's this whole other thing that goes on that he has to like become involved in, and it does tie back into the Overlook and all that. And it's real. And in the book, it's really cool the way they do it. So I'm very interested to see. I was like, oh, that's from the book, that's from the movie, that's from the book, that's from the movie.
I don't know, and don't spoil it for me. I don't know if the hotel was immediately abandoned after the events of The Shining, because in the trailer, it shows him back in the Overlook, looking through the hole in the door.
Right.
And, of course, that either means the place was completely abandoned after the event, or he's in a fantasy zone, or it's in a dream or something, so... I
think that's filmmaking stuff, because I don't think that's in the book. I don't know.
We'll see. And who knows? Maybe it's so different from the book that King's like, I give up.
Well, that's the thing.
They can't all be it.
Well, it had to be a hybrid. It had to because of
Kubrick's choices.
So hopefully, again, King has been. I don't want to say fast and loose with his properties, but he's greenlit a lot of stuff.
Lot of stuff.
And yes, this is one of his crown jewels is The Shining, and there was and it being such a thing with the movie, this was delicate ground to tread on, and hopefully,
he tread on it by writing the book.
Right.
So
no, I mean like to make a sequel and make a movie of the sequel. That's very so hopefully the director or writer was able to blend the two to make everybody happy. We'll see, and mainly to make him happy, because people who haven't read the book aren't going to know anyway. They're just going to see the movie.
Yeah,
so.
and I'm glad I still haven't gotten to the book yet. Yeah. Because you know me, I like to see the movie first. It's like the Cliff Notes, and then you dive into the actual meat of it, and suddenly the table has been set. The theater of the mind, the curtain is up. So when you read about X, you remember it from the film, and it's shaped that way for you. It's nice, as opposed to going in and seeing a film with the table already set, going, no, wrong,
yes.
It works better for me.
The first time that happened for me was I was living in Massachusetts for the couple of months I did with my dad, and I read John Irving's The World According to Garp.
Yeah.
And I read the book, and I was like, "This is a fantastic book. I can't wait to see the movie." And I watched the movie, and I was like, I feel like this is going at 100 miles an hour, because they're just going to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And then I realized, oh shit, it's a book versus a movie, and that's how it works. So yeah, it's always a tough. Yeah. It's always a tough call of which do you go
to
first.
Did you see Garp in the theater?
No. I rented it on video.
I was about to say.
I was a very young kid. No, I was in my 20s when I.
Okay, I was about to say, because Garp was like.
It was 80s.
Very early 80s.
As well. No. I didn't read it until...
I think that was the first tentpole big film that Robin Williams did during the run of Mork and Mindy.
I think you're right.
I don't think Mork and Mindy had quite ended, but he had one foot out the Orson door.
Yeah, and it was the first dabble into drama that he did. I think he had done Popeye at that point before Garp came out.
No, I think Popeye was after.
Okay.
Yes,
it was
one of the few misses in the Robert Altman. But then
depends
again,
on your perspective.
But then, yeah, exactly. But because you had the source material was exceptionally thin, and it was a very stylized cartoon.
Yes, and how do you translate?
How do you carry that for an entire?
I think it's brilliant. Film? I really enjoy. I like that movie.
I bought the 2 CD. Reissue of the soundtrack with all the Harry Nilsson unreleased stuff. Yes. I mean, all you had to do was say Harry Nilsson, and I'm like, that's good. I'm happy.
Yeah, I remember we saw that movie in the theater when I was a kid.
And come on, getting back to call back to The Shining, Shelley Duvall as Olive Oil, perfect casting.
I mean, it's inspired casting. Yes,
Ray Walston as
Pappy. Oh my God, yeah. And even Ron Williams was great.
Well, he's a good mimic.
True. But yes, going back to Garp, yeah, that was the first time. It was like this is I don't know,
right.
I don't like this, but I like it. You know, he was again a perfect choice for that character,
right?
Because it's a very quirky. T.S. Garp is a very weird character because of his background and all this stuff.
Right.
And it's just there's a lot more to it in the book, obviously. So
right, and that's why I like seeing the movie first and then reading the book, because you almost get like bonus scenes.
Yeah, it's almost like the director's cut is kind of what it is.
The director's cut is the novel, and you've already set the table. And you can just fill it all in with, film it in your head. Like, I see how it's going. Yep. I like that.
Yep.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that there was the Dr. Sleep, the surprise that you were talking about?
No.
Tell me what the other one is.
The weirdest fucking idea I've heard of a long time. Oh,
I think it's the thing I have.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Does it have anything to do with freedom?
No.
Oh, what's yours then?
They made a R-rated horror movie out of the banana splits.
Oh, I've heard about this.
Now, I heard about that, and I was like, that's the weirdest fucking brilliant idea I've ever heard. Now, the trailer came out, and it's a little low rent, and I'm a little disappointed. It seems...
Well, so was the banana splits.
Yeah, but it's... doesn't I don't know
have you watched much of Banana Splits?
I mean, I have.
It was long before our time,
right? But I mean,
reruns, and there was
it because it feels like in the trailer it feels like it's the guys in the suits killing people, and it's those suits. It's the same suits. Whereas it could have been like these actual creatures. You know what I mean? It could have been way weirder and way creepier. It seems like it's on the set of the TV show of the Banana Splits, and the Banana Splits are killing people, and it's like Sci-Fi Channel looking. So I was I was like,
Sharknado quality.
A step above that for sure. But
that ain't saying much.
But not like Blumhouse, like real like psychological. This is really fucking creepy and weird. I don't know. I think they're going for the gory factor of it.
And I'm sure there's probably a Reddit section or some online hive of weird Banana Splits fan fiction or something. Of course there is,
yeah.
Of course there is. Where people finally percolated and said, yeah, let's do it. The rights are cheap. Let's go ahead and do it.
Yeah, what? Here's a fucked up idea. Let's do that.
Exactly. I'm waiting for, HR Puffin stuff to be like a bisexual stripper, part-time prostitute that deals blow on the side or something. Something
along those lines.
Oh, Lidsville.
Oh, God.
Well, of course, without Charles Nelson Riley.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I don't know who.
There is no equivalent of Charles Nelson Riley. Well, except maybe Sean Hayes these days. He could.
Maybe.
He could pull off that.
Maybe.
Sidebar.
Yes.
Speaking along these lines.
Okay.
DC Comics has been doing this kind of thing for the last couple of years. These weird, like, combination. They made, like, a Flintstones comic book, which was, like... not photorealistic, but not like the Hanna-Barbera art. Right. So like they were like real cavemen people and like real. It's very interesting. The best one of all of them so far that I've been reading. They took Snagglepuss. Okay,
what was that? Exit stage left
yes,
already.
The big pink lion.
Yeah.
And they set it in the 50s during the lavender scare.
Oh, the same thing that Topher was writing
exactly
about.
And he's like a closeted playwright who's like got a sham marriage to a wife, and he's like being investigated by Joseph McCarthy. It's fucking brilliant. It's perfect. It's the perfect idea.
Oh,
So
I gotta check to see if Topher has read this because he probably.
I think our dear friend Elizabeth Cooper may have shoved it on him because it's like she probably has it if you want to read it because I've got it through.
She's
the
a
app,
comics girl.
Yes, and we bond over that a lot. But she had mentioned it to me and it popped up on the DC app, and I was like, let me check this out. I was like, this is genius. You know, he hangs out with what's her name at the Algonquin round table,
Dorothy
Parker, and you know they're coming for him because they know he's
in the 50s.
Well, during the 40s, whatever it is.
I was saying because Algonquin was kind of dead by the 50s. I think
he's also a big lion. You know, it's it's weird too because it's like it's just people and like anthropomorphic animals, and there's no like mention of it. Just happens to be
kind of like Greg the Bunny.
Yeah, exactly. There's no weirdness to it. It's just there.
Well, my God, you're a talking pink lion.
Yeah, the waiter will be a giraffe, and the cook will be a guy. You know,
kind of also BoJack Horseman.
Kind of, yes. Like this is how it happens to be in this universe. But just putting it in that is that weird mashup thing. That's like the most elegant, like brilliant.
I like that.
It's very cool. It's very
cool.
very cool.
The strange thing they're they're pulling out of I don't know where. Mm-hmm. Do you know who Agnes McCladian is?
Mm-mm.
He played Robert the Bruce in Braveheart.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're doing a Robert the Bruce film.
I have seen that. I didn't realize it was the same guy.
It is the same guy.
Okay, and doing the same.
He's doing the same role.
Robert the Bruce.
He's doing Robert the Bruce. Apparently, it's after the events of Braveheart.
Well, it would have to be.
Well, no, it could be anything.
Well, he's 25 years older. I mean.
Oh, I see. Aging the character. Okay, yes, I see what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah, it's after the events of Braveheart. Mel Gibson is not involved at all. It's just something that and he's attached. And I'm interested.
Yeah, he was very good in that movie as Robert the Bruce. You know, that movie is historically
bit of a
mess.
Bit of a spineless shit.
It's but he also did, unify Scotland later afterwards.
Right, and apparently this is that.
Yeah, him taking the lessons of William Wallace,
right,
and stepping up finally.
Right, getting well, he was the first king of Scotland apparently.
Yes.
So in the 14th century.
Yes.
So that's happening.
That's pretty cool.
That completely took me by surprise.
I saw an ad for that, and I didn't realize that it was that same guy. I was like, why are they doing a Robert the Bruce movie? They already did that with Braveheart. And I mean, I think they've done like several Robert the Bruce movies.
Have they?
At least one or two, and not too long ago.
But not with the Robert the Bruce.
Guy, yeah.
And unfortunately, most of the people that were in Braveheart, either them or their characters are no longer with us.
Yes, pretty much.
So, you're not going to, there may be one or two bits of surprise casting, but I'm guessing probably not.
No. Patrick McGowan died for real and in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Another film that's coming out that I'm keenly interested in.
Okay.
And it has a Star Wars connection.
All right.
It's a movie that stars Daisy Ridley.
Okay.
The title of the film is, here's the giveaway, Ophelia.
Oh, okay.
She is playing Ophelia.
So is it from Ophelia's perspective?
Exactly.
As opposed to Hamlet's perspective?
Right. It's Ophelia's perspective of the events of Hamlet.
Nice.
To be or not to be. To be, all that other stuff. Have you seen my skull? I've got some thinking to do.
Yes.
Even though I'm Danish and I talk like this. And I'm interested.
Yeah.
If for no other reason than to see her in something I'm interested in other than a Star Wars film.
Yes.
I'm sure she's done some other stuff.
She was in that, which I haven't seen, the Murder on the Orient Express that they did not so long ago with Kenneth Branagh, and there was some again sidebar. There was some really funny. It was a big cast, and it was it was Johnny Depp and Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson,
like 15 people. Each one of them are A-list talent could do their own film.
Right, and one of them was Josh Gad, and he kept posting these Instagram videos where he would be like, "Hey Daisy, it's good to see you. So what happens in Star Wars?" You know, like he just kept hounding her. I mean, yes, it was absolutely a bit, but it just kept going and kept going and kept going.
Yeah, so I'm keen to. First, I like the concept.
Yeah.
See, that's the same kind of concept as. Are you familiar with the whole legal issues around a book called The Wind Done Gone?
Yes.
It's from the perspective of, I can't remember the character. I think it's one of the cooks or the slaves or one of the, it's their perspective of the events of Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
And the not Alice Walker, the one who wrote Gone with the Wind.
Oh, Margaret
Mitchell.
Mitchell.
There we go. Phew. Almost lost my Atlanta cred
She's
there.
got a house right here on 10th Street.
They took the author to court.
Yeah.
And I believe the author prevailed against the Mitchell estate.
Well, in a way, does it fall under parody? Or is it...
It falls under, not parody, under fair use.
Interesting.
And
that's tough, man.
It is a tough thing because, yes, it's historical, but it's her version of a historical event in the events around it. It's almost like it is kind of stealing. It's an interesting concept.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's very interesting for major works if someone comes along and says, I wonder how this, but if I had written something like that and someone came along, I would be fucking pissed off.
Right. You don't do that.
Write your own shit.
Yeah. Well, you have works like Wicked as well, which, The Wizard of Oz, if you read the book is much more tied to the L. Frank Baum books.
Right.
Okay. Because I read it and I was like, I don't understand anything that's going on in this book. I kind of hated that book. It was very long and I didn't enjoy the book because I had seen the show before that, the Broadway show.
Right.
And the Broadway show is very close to it's more references the movie, or it has the look and the style of the film. And it's funny, I read this article one time that said The Wizard of Oz itself is public domain. You and I could write a Wizard of Oz anything.
That is true.
We can't use the ruby slippers. We can't use bits and pieces of the things that were straight out of the movie.
Right, exactly.
That's still owned by MGM.
Which it's getting close to public domain. Of course, they keep extending it. They go to the court and say, "Hey, we're going to lose the rights, the exclusive rights to Mickey Mouse and all this stuff. Why don't we add another 25 years onto the copyright?"
Right.
Which,
well, but I get that if it's a viable entity,
that
makes more sense than.
But at a certain point, shit needs to go to the public domain.
Why? Why, if Disney is still making
for it to be disseminated more widely, cheaply, other adaptations, it's had its life as what it is exclusively. At a certain point,
I see that,
but then again, that gets right back to the whole. If I was the person and somehow outlived the copyright and I'm in my 90s and some fucker wants to come along and make a musical out of it without my permission input, I'd be pissed off.
Right.
So
things that no one ever heard of that sit on a shelf are different than things that are still viable entities, I think.
Yeah.
It's very, I see your point, but I also see that, the Disney Corporation is not going to give up Mickey Mouse without a fight.
Oh my God, no.
So, and just because they happen to still be around 80 years later, that's got to be taken into consideration.
And also keep in mind, if someone, if the concept of Mickey Mouse becomes public domain, some of the other elements that developed along the way, they can't use those.
Yes.
They can go back to Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
But they can't, Mickey Mouse was more stylized and kind of settled into his shit, so to speak, in the 40s, maybe early 50s. Yeah. So you can't use elements like the ruby slippers and things that were used.
Yes.
So I know it's very tough. I would not want anybody touching a damn word of what I wrote without my,
Yeah.
If someone wants to go and wreck my book and I've been paid and I have signed off and said, sure, whatever, then that's on me. If I sell out that cheaply for garbage, then so be it,
Fine. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very tough.
I see both sides of it. I understand. Yes, it
Exactly.
should be, some things should end up in the public domain, but I mean things that are active.
I mean, what if the Shakespeare estate, if there were such a thing, was still keeping it on lock? Shakespeare wouldn't be as widely disseminated and performed.
Right.
And now there are people who do adaptations of Shakespeare, but of the text, those are copywritten because changing some like when they do, what is it? Oh God, was it 13 Things I Hate About You? Was actually
like
Taming of the
adaptations.
Shrew and
Right,
stuff like
right,
that.
right.
That kind of thing wouldn't be possible if it was on lockdown from not making the case for that film or any other.
No, but I mean that's done all the time because you can do that. You can take the story from Hamlet and make it into something else.
Right.
Strange Brew is Hamlet. If you go back, it is Hamlet. It's
Okay.
They are Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Yeah.
It's Elsinore Castle, Elsinore Brewery.
Okay.
I mean, it is. They even say that, Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. So
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So, that's a tough one.
yeah,
That's a tough one to get, from solely a consumer of art. Get as much out there as possible. Get it out there, make it public domain.
but as an artist,
I'm like, not in my fucking lifetime.
yeah, that guy.
Not in my lifetime.
Yes, Walt's gone, but the Walt Corporation is still a thing. And
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
New Mickey Mouse stuff comes out all the time.
Oh, yeah.
They ain't right. Shakespeare ain't writing more plays.
That is true.
Mozart's not doing any more symphonies. So.
Well, but he is decomposing.
yes. Send your emails to Michael no.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like the concept of writing from the perspective of the slave in Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing.
But you got to kind of wait. You can't do that. It's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, certain very famous stories. Hell, let's do a trilogy from the perspective of the Emperor solely.
Yeah.
What was he doing during, when the first Death Star blew up? He wasn't there.
No.
So,
He wasn't there anywhere near there. Yeah.
Well, we got a little bit of a taste of that at Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
What's an aluminum falcon?
Has that knee holding up.
Like a little angry pepper shaker down there. So, yeah, that's...
But no, yes, I know. And like authors will do that. Like there are books like that of people's... Like I said, there was a book that was a book of short stories that it was... Tales from Jabba's Palace, and it was the events of Jabba's Palace, the events of when Luke and them came to Jabba's Palace from all the weird creatures' perspectives. Yeah. And the book I just got last year, it was a 40th anniversary book, and it was called From a Certain Point of View, and it was well, yeah, and it's all short stories, and it chronologically follows the movie. So it follows A New Hope from the beginning. So like the first story is two rebel pilots of the blockade runner, and they're like, right. We've got a Star Destroyer bearing down on us. What do we do? And then it cuts to a story where Captain Antilles is like, Darth Vader just boarded my ship and I got to go talk to him, and he gets to him and they have this whole big long argument, and then Vader picks him up and chokes him out.
Right.
And, so it goes beat by beat. But
kind of what we got at the end of Rogue One.
Yes, exactly. But again, all sanctioned by...
Sanctioned.
And even commissioned, I would say.
To expand the universe that they have created while keeping control.
Yes.
And of course, when Lucasfilm went to Disney, a lot of that was cut loose. I'd say most of it was cut loose.
Right.
Because Disney has to have its Disney control.
The one thing Lucasfilm was very litigious. very, 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 very litigious with their property, obviously. The one cool thing they would do was you could make a fan film, and you could use stuff, sound effects and everything. You just could not profit off of it.
Yeah,
you could put it out online.
You can't monetize it.
Right. You can use our property and make a thing, and that's cool. And I think Disney realized later on that, people doing that kind of thing, it does not diminish the brand at all. It does nothing but up it.
Yep. You watch that and you're like, God, now I
want to watch Star Wars.
Now I want to watch Star Wars.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it just keeps...
we were talking about The Shining earlier.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, God, I haven't seen The Shining in a couple of years.
Exactly.
I think I'm going to watch The Shining tonight.
Exactly.
Last night, out on a total whim, I just went, yep, it's time, and watched all of Kill Bill again.
Oh.
Thinking, I'll just fast forward through some... Nope, I didn't fast forward through a damn thing.
I haven't watched that in a very long time.
Very good film.
Yeah. Films.
Well, it is a film.
Have you watched, do you have what is it called, The Whole Bloody Affair? Like the one big long one? Or do you break it into the two?
That, from my understanding, has not been released.
Really? I thought it was.
Nope.
Okay.
I think they did a screening of it, but they have not put it out.
Okay.
I haven't checked recently, so it may have happened.
I was of the impression that it had been released, but I'm not. It's not a thing. It's just a thing I'd heard of.
But I mean, I'm down with it because, as much as I'll fast forward through the boring parts, there's really no boring parts.
No.
Because I love scenes with good dialogue.
Well, yeah.
And you cannot, people can disagree on Quentin Tarantino, but there can be no disagreement that he can write dialogue.
Yeah.
And he writes it very, very well.
Yes, for sure.
So, just the scene where Bud getting chewed out by the strip club owner in Volume 2, that's 3 to 4 minutes that you might think, no, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's schedule time for Buddy. I also want to talk about a thing that's happening right now. Keanu Reeves is having a moment.
He sure is, isn't he?
I mean, the dude's like 54 now.
Yep.
And he's having a moment for a number of things.
Yes.
But the big thing is the whole not touching women.
Yes.
And I had never noticed that. And apparently all these pictures where his hand will hover, but he doesn't actually
and
touch.
You can see.
Exactly.
You can see that he's not touching.
Right. You can see where the hand would be wrapped around the waist. You can see the open palm behind. Right. And it never occurred to me that, I mean, obviously, if someone's posing for a picture, there's a social contract that's valid for the 10 seconds where you may put your hands on me in a respectful way to pose for a photo, and then it's done.
Yes.
And I still abide by that kind of, the whole hovering thing for me would just be like, I'm with a friend. But he, on the other hand, does the hovering, but he has to take pictures with a lot of people he does not know.
At all, yes.
Period.
All day long, every day.
Exactly.
It could be.
And the fact that he does that, respect, man.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish more people were like that.
It's a decent thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's a very smart thing to do for someone in his position, because that has come back to bite a lot of people. A lot of people with money and
a lot of people with money.
influence.
And let's say, for every one person who gets a little handsy by mistake, not really trying to, and gets slapped on, there's probably another 100 that are total shitbags doing stuff.
At least,
especially in Hollywood.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm fanboying all on Keanu Reeves right now for that. And also, have you heard? It's in pre-production.
Yes, it is.
Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Yes, it is.
Holy fuck!
They have cast their daughters in the.
Oh, really?
Well, they've cast. Well, Bill and Ted's daughters are a part of the movie,
right?
And they two actresses. I don't know who they are.
Oh, okay.
No names I recognize.
Okay.
I've seen pictures of them, and it's like, yeah, they look kind of like a young Keanu Reeves. And
now, what I'm curious about, we still have Fee Waybill, and we still have Martha Davis. We no longer have Clarence Clemens. Mm-hmm. Remember the three gods of cool in the future.
Yes.
Those were the three.
Yep.
That, so are they going to have those characters? Will they bring back Fee and Martha? And who will they get to jump in as the third?
Yeah.
Who knows what it's going to be?
Who knows what they're going to do and what they're...
I just hope it's better than the second one. Bogus Journey was not my favorite, only because I love the first one so much. So much. I mean, my friend Anthony and I, for probably a month to 6 weeks, every weekend, we would go to the cheap matinee showing and watch Bill and Ted. It was like a thing.
Yep.
When this film comes out, I'm thinking, I got to either get him out here or I need to fly back to Los Angeles
yes.
and just get in, loser. We're going to go see Bill and Ted.
Yep.
Over and over again.
Yeah, I enjoyed the second one. I think it's charming in its own way. It's got some issues, but there's some really funny stuff. I know Bill Sadler is back as the Grim Reaper.
Oh, nice.
For sure.
Okay.
It's produced by the same guys. It's produced by Ed Solomon and the guys, and Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter. They said Rufus may have also had a child because George is no longer with us.
Hey, if we get a Rufus Jr. as a new character, I'm fine with that. Enough time has passed to where, what has it been? 30? It's been 30 years.
Yeah.
So,
my vote would be Sarah Silverman as the Rufus character.
You know what?
That would be pretty damn good.
That would be, but being more because Carlin was not being Carlin in this film.
No.
He was more, he was basically pulling a Garp in a sense that he was doing a dramatic role, a little wry smile while he was doing it, but he was not the source of any of the comedy.
There's
really.
a few lines that are like, that's George. That's George's line.
Yeah. So if you get it in Sarah Silverman.
in Bogus Journey where he's talking about Denomalos, the bad guy, and he's like, yes, evil dictator and sit-up champion of the 23rd century. That's a George line completely.
So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know who they'd get. I almost don't want Sarah Silverman to do that.
I don't think she is. That was just a name that popped up.
But then she can do drama. She was in. Speaking of also Good Omens with what's his name.
Tennant, Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen, and what was it? It was about it was Masters and Johnson. That's it. The Masters and Johnson thing that they did on show. I believe it was Showtime.
Oh, Masters of Sex.
Masters of Sex. Yeah. And she was straight up drama. Yeah, straight up.
She can do it,
and did it just fine.
I just think they're gonna go with not. I think they would go with, having Carlin, they would go with someone of that ilk as the Rufus character. So a name who's a comedian, Patton Oswalt or Sarah Silverman or someone else completely.
Actually, I can see Patton Oswalt. I can see Patton Oswalt in anything. To be honest with you, it's like much. I don't know. He's a little too short. And oh no, he worked. Oh no, it worked out just fine. Yeah. It's perfect.
He's perfect in pretty much anything.
Although his role in Rise of Skywalker, I don't know.
That's going to be a tough sell. I don't know. Simon Pegg was in it, so
he was under so much CGI. Yeah. Well, he was CGI.
He pretty much.
It was his voice.
I started laughing. No, he was in the suit, and it was like a CGI head.
Okay.
He was on set.
Oh,
doing
okay,
it. And,
fair enough.
I remember watching that the first time, and I just started laughing. I was like, "There's fucking Simon Pegg." I know that voice anywhere.
And we're roughly 5.5 months or so. 6 months.
6 months.
6 months away from
Rise of Skywalker.
And then we get a break for 2 years.
2 years, 2022.
Yeah.
And again, I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be with Disney Plus. There's at least 2, if not 4, Star Wars series that they're talking about.
So there will be more Star Wars.
I'm not worried about
the big feature films.
Yeah, and like I said, I got burned out. Like having one every year was great, but having one every year was also like I had no anticipation. There was no waiting, and that was kind of a cool thing.
Remember the build up for the first prequel, like for that year?
Oh my God.
You're just like,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm losing my mind.
there had been nothing really since Return of the Jedi.
So 1983 to 1999.
Yeah.
Whew.
That's a wait.
That's a long time. And even as a kid, I mean, the wait between Empire Strikes Back and Jedi seemed like my entire life.
Well, of course.
You know,
nowadays you look back and go, God, that was 25 years. Oh my God, that was 25 years ago.
Yeah. It was 42 years. But yeah, 42 years since the original one.
Yeah.
So it's like, But yeah, I like. Yes, I'm glad we're getting a bit of a break and let them figure it out, and hopefully they don't fuck it up. I don't know if the Rian Johnson thing is happening. I don't know. I know
JJ's back for
this one,
for the Rise of Skywalker.
We know that,
and then apparently there's supposed to be another trilogy.
Well, that was the thing. They had announced 2 separate trilogies: the Rian Johnson one and the Game of Thrones guys ones.
Right?
And that's the only one they're talking about now. So the Rian Johnson one is like, what?
It's possible that after the stellar but somehow disappointing sales for Solo, which was still...
Well, he didn't have anything to do with that.
Right, no. But Disney kind of went, all right, we were going to go really full bore. We're pulling back.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they still had those 2 trilogies. And they're like, okay, maybe they just went, you know what? Maybe one.
Yeah.
Because apparently the plan is there will be a new trilogy, but it'll be spaced every other year.
Yes.
And the Avatar sequels are going to fill in those other... So Disney has major December films. And
they're pulling away from the standalone Star Wars ones.
Which unless that new trilogy is just absolutely brilliant, I still want my Boba Fett film. I know they're doing a series.
But it's not even Boba Fett. It's just a different Mandalorian.
Right, it's a Mandalorian. Yeah. It's not Boba Fett. Which, of course, as long as he's similarly badass, then it'll be fine. It'll wet the beak.
Yeah, it's. I told you, it's. I forget the actor's name. It's the guy who played Oberyn Martell from Game of Thrones.
Oh,
he's the Mandalorian. I was like, that's a good choice.
Yeah,
he's a convincing badass. So we'll see how it goes. You know,
well, it'll be weird since aren't his eyeballs pushed into his skull?
No, his skull exploded. So
was that what it was?
Yeah, okay. They were pushed in until his head exploded. It's spoilers if you haven't seen the Mountain and the Viper, or the Viper and the Mountain, whatever it's called.
God, I honestly thought that guy was going to win that thing.
Yeah,
it looked like it, and I was fully buying into what they were
like screaming at him. Don't get cocky. You haven't killed him yet.
Yeah, that's always the thing, You got your opponent on the mat, you start doing your victory dance, and then they rise from behind you and impale you on something that you
poke your eyes out and then blow your head off. That was brutal.
That wasn't enough to have people stop watching. It wasn't until burning a child and raping a major character that some people went, yeah, I think I'm about done with this thing.
Yeah. Most
of us, though, went, oh, that's horrible. It's realistic. I know it had to happen for the story, but,
Yep.
That's why a lot of times writers will get shit for stuff that's in the show, like their personal character is defect. You wrote the most horrific, murder scene I have ever read. What kind of a monster are you? Apparently a good writer.
Yeah.
Let me count my murders that I based it on that I did. Let's see. Nothing.
Yes.
So you're welcome. Don't, Carlin would get this all the time for, some of his characters. How could you that's this character that I wrote. It's not, everyone thinks that a writer puts all of themselves into every character. And to be honest, sometimes there's bits of you spread around. But a person who rapes, murders, and pillages in a story is not, the latent desires.
No.
It's to service the story that you're writing.
Right.
Maybe you imagine, pillaging a certain
Everyone has thoughts, but
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to get in that headspace. That you don't have to like experience that stuff to write fiction.
Exactly.
about it.
I mean, let's face it. Stephen King comes off as a pretty well-adjusted, kind of boring guy. And he's come up with some really
Some of the worst
twisted, wicked, cool shit.
Yeah,
And no one's, at least that I know of, is going, Stephen King, he's probably murdered people.
Right. No. And on the flip side, I remember Kevin Smith was talking about when he did his movie Red State.
Yeah.
And he said, they were getting ready to wrap. They were coming close to the end, and he was talking to Michael Parks, who was playing the lead, the
preacher.
cult leader, preacher guy. And he said, Michael, I'm so sad this is ending. This has been such a fun ride. And Parks said, oh, I can't wait for it to be over. And Smith was like, why? He goes, I got to get this guy out of my head.
Yep.
Because he had to inhabit that guy. He had to be this awful person. And he's like, I need to get this guy out of my head. And that's way different than the writer.
Exactly. And that happens, that happens to writers as well, where they don't want to go, a book they write that they barely made it through because it was just so brutal on themselves to write. And it's a huge hit, and people said, well, a sequel, because that's the first thing everyone always asks. Whenever anything is big, give us more of that.
Yeah.
If Gone with the Wind had been released, what happens? Does it go to a breeze?
Yeah.
Can we go to a gust?
A son of Scarlet.
Yeah, something like that. And sometimes, not all the time, but most of the time, I would say, a story is a story well told, and it's done.
Yes.
It's done.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I have a lot of respect for writers, filmmakers, and especially musicians that refuse to capitalize on. David Byrne, unless something dramatic happens, is never going to reform Talking Heads.
Yeah.
As much as I would definitely go to that show and I would enjoy it, there's a part of me that really respects the fact that he goes, look at the vibrant work I'm doing now. And he is.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you keep wanting me to go back to the 70s and 80s?
Yeah.
I mean, I did that. I'm proud of it. When I got my Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, induction, I was there. We played with the band because it was a celebration in a proper setting of that work that I did.
Right.
But afterwards, the other three members are like, come on, let's do something. He's like, no. And I respect him for that.
Yeah. I mean,
Paul,
I understand the point of view though of the people, because it's like I love that so much.
Right.
And you're still here. We could do more.
That's true. I mean, a Talking Heads reunion could have all the original members.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there were never any unoriginal members. The band started.
Yeah.
The same people that released the first album are the same people that released the final album.
Yeah.
So,
But again, I understand also,
Right.
like, we've done that. I'm doing other
Exactly.
things.
Well, he's doing vibrant, important work now.
Yeah.
If you had a huge hit back in 80 and people are, crying out for more and you've done nothing since, maybe you're like, all right, fuck it. Well,
Yeah.
But you're David Byrne is being creatively fulfilled by what he's doing now.
Yeah.
Same thing with Paul Weller. There's a huge, not so much here, but in England, for the Jam to get back together.
Mm-hmm.
You know the Jam.
I know of them, yeah.
Dum 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 dum. Whatever. It's a great band, band. And he is notorious for, I do a thing, I stop. I did the Jam, I stopped. I did the Style Council, I stopped. Now I'm my own solo artist and I do my own stuff. He's still putting out music and being creatively vibrant. And he doesn't get along with the other guys, from what I understand, or at least one of the other guys.
Yeah.
And they've played on each other's records, but as far as the Jam, those, it's like when REM does, the members of REM are at something, they might play, but one of them always sits out, even if they're there, because this is not an REM reunion. So if all of us are on stage doing something like at a wedding or whatever, people will say, REM reunion. Nope, we can't have it. So, yeah, exactly. So anyway, last thing I want to talk about, unless you got something.
I got one quick thing.
All right, what's that?
I saw a very interesting movie. I was hanging out with my dad this weekend, and it was a movie that I was like, oh, this is one of those I got to watch with my dad, and it was a biopic called Stan and Ollie.
Oh, it's already out.
It is out. It is on Amazon.
Yeah,
and we watched it. I really enjoyed it.
It's John C. Reilly and
Steve Coogan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they could not look or sound or act more like Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
It's astounding. It's an interesting story because they had such an interesting story, and it's nice in the fact that it's one of those it's not one of those biopics where they hate each other the whole time. They love each other the whole time, and yes, they have a falling out and they have issues and stuff.
Right.
But just the recreations of the Laurel and Hardy stuff that they do is amazing. And like I said, I enjoy it. It's not the best movie, but it's what they do with the two of them is unreal.
Well, good. It's on my list of.
I think you of all people, you would enjoy
2,000 films to get to.
Yeah, it was. It's on Amazon now, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch this, and I don't know if my dad liked it a lot or not, but I enjoyed it very much.
Speaking of Amazon, the last thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
Season 3 started a couple weeks back.
Of
The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, yes.
And I'm guessing you have not watched any of that.
Not at all, no. I know. I'm hesitant because it's so. I don't like crazy heavy stuff. That's why we haven't started Chernobyl yet, and we're.
Oh, Chernobyl is phenomenal.
I know. We're going to watch.
I mean, it is mandatory viewing.
Yeah.
Just give Jared Harris the Emmy right now. I mean, fuck anyone else. He gets the Emmy.
Okay.
If he doesn't get the Emmy, I will lose faith.
Okay.
Same thing with Michelle Williams for Fosse Verdon.
Yep.
I mean, just phenomenal. And Billy Porter for every goddamn thing he's in.
What is he in? Like, where did he? Like...
he's in the show Pose.
Okay.
Which just came back last week.
Okay.
He won a Tony years back for Kinky Boots.
Got it.
And
I've seen that show. That's a really good show.
Yeah, and he is just phenomenal.
Yes.
I mean,
all I've come to know him from is the award shows
and the outrageously, amazingly cool outfits he comes up with.
Yep.
Which, when the Met Gala was all about camp, he's like, baby, I've got this.
I've done this.
And he comes in, being carried by shirtless men and all this stuff. He is probably about a 50-year-old out gay man with sass to spare. Mm-hmm. I mean, the guy is just I saw his appearance on the Colbert Show.
Okay.
Late night with still the Colbert Show.
Yeah.
Not the Colbert Report.
Yeah.
And he came out in just a fancy gold pantsuit, something that would have been really awesome in like 1978 at Studio 54. Mm-hmm. And he's just a beam of freaking light.
Absolutely.
He's freaking amazing. Have you seen that one picture when he was on the red carpet for something? I can't remember what it was, in that like tuxedo dress.
Yes.
And there's a picture of Glenn Close checking him out, kind of like, what the? Yeah. And I'm like, Glenn Close, you go.
Yep.
So I was very just, Billy Porter for every fucking thing he's in.
What's funny about Kinky Boots is that it's going full Mel Brooks, the producers, because they're making a movie of the Broadway musical. And what people don't realize is that it was a film.
Yep.
Like a straight film,
right?
Before it was a musical.
I've not seen Kinky Boots the musical on stage. I have watched Kinky Boots the film.
Yeah, I've seen them both.
And it literally is, it's a pretty straightforward film. Little chuckle here, a little chuckle there, a little bit of drama.
Yeah, a little bit of drama.
But perfectly serviceable, middle of the road film.
And it's a really good musical.
Yeah,
too. We enjoyed it. We saw it at the Fox here, and it was.
Is this part of your? Subscription?
This wasn't. This was a couple of years ago, and it was I've seen that movie and I want to see that. She wanted to see the musical. And,
well, of course she did.
Yeah, well, of course, and it was worth it. It was good.
They're doing a film version of In the Heights.
Yes, they're filming it now.
Yeah, probably in Atlanta. Well, probably no. It should be.
No,
in New
it's
York.
in New York. But
I mean, everything is being filmed in Atlanta
at the moment. Yeah.
No, I'm afraid that if that law does not get defeated in the courts, there's a lot of production companies that
they've already said
they've held back, like, no, we're not leaving unless this thing finally takes effect.
Yeah.
Then we're out. And I get the impulse to punish the state.
Yes, but it doesn't.
But it's not going to.
It punishes
the people.
Yeah.
People that some of them have moved here like permanently
and are on the opposition of that bill anyway.
Exactly.
The people who are here fighting against it.
So, I mean, I understand the impulse to boycott and say, look, your revenues went down, I understand that. I get that. But government is not a company.
No.
That has shareholders.
No.
It has voters that are, easily swayed and bullshitted and are not really paying attention to this. So if the revenue goes down, like, oh, well, whatever.
Yep.
They don't give a shit.
Yep.
I say stay here and vote.
Yeah.
Stay here and live and put money, into the economy. I definitely
Well, who is it? J.J. Abrams, I think, and somebody else are coming here to make some project, and like all the profits are going to fight the
good.
bill. Somebody's doing that.
Good.
Yeah.
I like this Omaze thing that apparently has taken hold. The thing where you can...
I've donated
a
bunch of times. Because the first one I saw was...
For Star Wars.
For Star Wars, obviously, to be in Force Awakens. To be a character in Force Awakens.
And that kind of thing for raising money for charity when it's so easy to do it.
Yeah.
That to me is freaking amazing.
Yeah, there's been hundreds and hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And they even, I watched the video of the guy who won. They did a whole thing where they followed him onto the set of Force Awakens and him losing his mind. And, there was one that it was like have lunch with Mark Hamill. And I may have donated way too much money for that. And
just on the off chance.
Just on the off chance. I was like, I have to do this.
But you know what? When you find out you didn't win, you're like, you know what? But I gave to charity.
And here's the thing. There were options. The option I took was I didn't really get anything out of it. It was all the money went to, it was something like, water treatment and food and all this stuff. And it wasn't I'm getting a t-shirt.
Things the government should be doing, but are not.
Right. But it was something, and it was, so I was like, I'm going to I'm going to be, if I'm going to go nerdy and donate, a lot of money, I don't want to get anything out of it. I just want to do this option.
Yeah.
So, but Omaze, there's a ton of them. There's one now, I think I got to jump on it, that hang out with Jodie Whittaker on the set of Doctor Who.
Oh.
Yeah.
When are we getting our next Doctor Who? I mean,
I don't think it's this year. I think it's next year.
Come on.
I think that's what I'd read. Yeah. But they're doing it, and she's doing it, and
bollocks. Well, you know what? It's the British way. We're not ready.
Yeah.
We'll do a quality product in a year.
Yep.
We're not going to race some garbage out now.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
And just speaking of it, and one last thing, a Mr. David Tennant will be at Dragon Con this year.
Wow.
Yes. So my weird Inception picture will go on.
Oh my God! Isn't he already in one?
No, and I haven't met him yet. It's mine because if you haven't seen, I have I made it onto the BBC website. I took a picture with Karen Gillan. Me and Courtney took a picture with Karen Gillan.
Right.
And then the next year, Matt Smith showed up at Dragon Con, and I thought it would be funny to hold up a picture of us with Karen Gillan and take a picture of Matt Smith.
Right.
And then it just snowballed, and now it's a picture. Now it's technically a picture of us with Peter Capaldi holding a picture of us with Catherine Tate holding a picture of us with Matt Smith holding a picture of us with
Karen Gillan.
So, and Freeman Agyeman, who was Martha Smith on that, she's gonna, Martha Jones, she's gonna be at Dragon Con as well. So it's like, I can get two more.
Wow. So you got to get the picture, then you got to go and get it printed up.
Well, they do it right there.
Okay.
It's one of the like the pro things where they take the picture and they print it out. So it's a nice 8x10 glossy.
Oh, nice.
I just have to blow it up because it's getting harder to see all the layers to it.
And Martha Jones.
Yep.
Back to The Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
do watch it. It will make you very, very, very angry and despondent in places because there's far too many parallels to
Current
what
events.
we see. Obviously, no, Gilead is not the United States yet.
Yeah. I
But
just keep seeing like the women protesting, like the current administration in those outfits.
Right. Well, exactly, because it starts with not allowing a woman to have agency over her own body. That's where it starts, and it ends with them not being able to go outside without. I mean, basically, it's in some cases, kind of what Sharia law is.
Exactly.
You can't go out without a male. You're not, and taken to the fullest extreme. Apparently, in the book, there, the birth rates have dropped because fertility has dropped. So when a woman has demonstrated that she is fertile, then she basically is passed around once a year to different commanders to have the ceremony, which basically means the wife kind of cradles the handmaid while the male, does his business and all that other kind of stuff. So basically, it's state-sanctioned rape.
Yeah,
is what it is, and it's thank God they don't show very many of those ceremonies. But in season 3, rebellion is afoot. And Bradley Whitford is in the cast.
He's always good.
And he is good. So it takes a while to get there, and I think it's you're 30 episodes behind as of last Thursday.
Got it.
So, but it's definitely well worth watching.
I know.
I know. Added to all the other 900,000. I know. I'm so far behind on everything.
Yes. We got to finish Good Omens first.
Got to finish Good Omens.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I'll say, you know what? I want to watch Kill Bill. But, Michael, you have so much. You know what? I need this right now.
Yes.
Because sometimes, I feel it's a burden. Like, I'm never going to finish all this shit in my lifetime. And sometimes you just kind of have to let go and
we just got to look at it like you're never going to run out either.
That's true. I mean,
it's just all choices,
Yeah, I know. Well, my retirement is going to be very awesome. I will have plenty of stuff to watch and do. Although by that time, all my DVDs won't be making player. Seriously, optical media is on its way out.
Yeah.
I mean, for the record label, really, the Harlan Ellison series is the only thing that I could still get away with on doing strictly on compact disc.
Yeah.
Any other release, they'd be like, why is this not on digital? Why is it not on Spotify? Well, because it doesn't make me any fucking money.
Yeah.
Whereas the Harlan Ellison series does very well for me.
Yep.
And that particular customer base,
that demographic,
right? That's what they want. They want the physical thing.
Yep.
I've had a couple of requests for digital.
So you can rip it yourself.
But I've got, if you need it so badly, buy it and just
put it in iTunes.
Rip it into iTunes. Yeah. But as long as I've got, $10,000-$20,000 locked up in optical media inventory, I'm going to be selling that shit. If I run out of a particular title, maybe I'll put that title up on iTunes because I'm not going to burn another stack of cash, printing up another, pressing up another batch of CDs.
Right.
So anyway, hey, Dan, isn't it medication time? Why hasn't medication time happened?
Yeah, what's going on?
I don't know. Well, let's talk about the rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
I hear that.
Medication time. Medication time.
We ran out of time. I will tell you next week.
The 9 Billion Names of Pod was conceived, written, and performed by Michael Reed and Dan Bauman, with Abdul Beni Hassan as the sound of splintering wood. Research, transportation, and exasperated looks by Courtney Lohner. Technical assistance by Cubase, Pro Tools, Skynet, QLab, Deep Thought, Big Brother, and Eddie, your shipboard computer. Financial consideration provided by the Wayne Foundation, Stark Industries, the Piranha Brothers, and LexCorp. Legal counsel by the Office of Howard and Fine. So I'm going to pitch a movie where Scarlett O'Hara's maid is a murderer and killing puppets. And our intro music was written by Tim Akers. This podcast was sponsored by Deep Shag Records and is a production of Audio Primate. Throw us a couple stars on iTunes, why don't you? Listen, watch on YouTube. Stream us on Spotify. Listen on SoundCloud. Stream us on Stitcher. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Or email us, comlink@billionpod.com. Until this happens again, I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Michael Reed.
Hello, Z.
Audio Primate.